Hi guys, Christy here, aka Green Thumb Reporter. I know it's only been just over a week since my last garden tour, but there is so much new happening in this garden, so much growth just in the last week, and so many things that I've planted that I wanted to give you another tour and show you exactly what I'm doing, what I'm learning, how things are going. It is a great time to be in the garden at the moment. That's cool though. Let's start with what's happening over here in and amongst my fabulous food cubes. So last video I introduced you to these new boxes at the side. A whole lot of beans in there, a couple of climbing beans and some bush beans down the bottom. Let's start with the climbing beans. They are climbing high, and if you look closely, they've got all these new flowers all the way down, and with the flowers are beans, which is very cool. Down the bottom I put bush beans, so they will stay low and these should continue to climb. In my actual food cubes over here, these beds are still doing beautifully. Those lettuces are just so luscious. You can see this one in here, my radicchio is almost covered by the other lettuces, but it's forming a really gorgeous solid head there, probably ready to harvest. You can see what happens there to a lettuce that doesn't get any sun. Exactly the same varieties. That one has access to sun, that one doesn't, and check out the difference. My snow peas are still doing really well. Thank you very much to the netting. This side though, two brand new babies that I've put in there. They're snack orange capsicums and the kids love these. So I've specifically put them in this bed because they're really easy for the kids to access. There's some bigger capsicums there and there, which are a little bit more established. And in the middle, this is what I'm really excited about. This is a brand new tomato seedling, which is by far one of my youngest. They're called sun gold tomatoes. Someone mentioned these in one of my comments once, and I'm not even sure if I've responded properly yet because I wanted time to respond in depth. They're supposed to be the best tasting tomatoes you can get. And when you buy a packet of them, 5 seeds come in the packet. So that was pressure, because what if they didn't germinate, rah, rah, rah. I'm going to be looking after that one very well and absolutely saving those seeds for next year, and I hope they taste as good as they are supposed to. Got some beans at the front here too, but if they grow too big and block the sun from the back, I might even remove them, because it's the seedlings at the back that I am more keen to nurture and develop to their full potential, because I know the kids will be excited about those. Look at this. So this is a tomato plant that the leaves were looking so diseased and they had kind of insecty holes through them. I started cutting off a lot of the leaves until I thought, gosh, I've actually got to stop or there'll be no leaves left. At the time, I saw a whole lot of little flower buds, and my thought was, this tree isn't going to make it, and there's not enough leaves anymore to support those flowers to turn into tomatoes. But boy, was I wrong, because there's tomatoes absolutely everywhere growing on this plant. Seriously, I can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 leaves. 5 leaves and about 1 million flowers that are all legitimately turning into tomatoes. The reason I'm so surprised by that is because I didn't think there was enough leaves on this plant to actually support it, and I thought it would keep growing new leaves. Turns out this is a determinate variety, and there is absolutely no new growth other than zillions of tomatoes. So, and look, they just more and more keep growing. No new leaves are growing, just tomatoes. So go figure. Go figure. I'm excited about that. I have been using some sprays on these leaves because I wanted to save the plant, and you can see if you got close, there's just spots all over them. It looked like sort of an insecty kind of attack rather than a fungal attack, but I wasn't sure, so I've been spraying them with both. Usually I try to avoid spraying anything, but I just couldn't afford to take any more leaves off this one. Anyway, there you go. There is my short, determinate tomato plant with crazy amounts of flowers. I've got heaps more tomatoes, so let's keep going. Some exciting things that are coming up this week. We've got the make and bake sale at school, so a bunch of things that I've grown for that we will be selling. Our school this month is also focusing on how does your garden grow. So I'm going in on Tuesday to plan out a bunch of things for their veggie garden. So big thanks to QP Seedlings for some beautiful seedlings they've donated. Big thanks also to Daisy's Garden Supplies. They've given me a bunch of composts that I'll be able to use to come and freshen up their beds and teach the kids about the type of soil that is best to grow veggies in. I'm also excited about what's happening in here because since my last video a week ago, I've cleared the whole lot out and turned it into my salad patch. So these are all beautiful seedlings from QP Seedlings, who I've told you about before because I love them. And I also love just how uniform they go in. I've put in some kale at the back there. I would have thought you wouldn't do kale in the summer. They're typically a winter veggie. I believe it's just because they get so badly attacked by the cabbage white butterfly. So I've put them somewhere with really secure netting. And at the back there, that is a self-seeded watercress from, I don't know if it was 1 or 2 years ago, but a very long time since I've grown watercress in here. But I've left it because I'm really pleased with that. And I love the colour varieties in here. Now down here, I have relocated our blackberry bush. I wasn't getting any fruit on it, but lots of growth. I haven't grown blackberries before. It is in a pot. They tend to go nuts, so that's short-term solution, but I also don't want it taking over the yard. I think they might be my first flowers starting to form, or maybe they're just going to be more leaves. Too small to tell at this stage. And at the back here, I have potatoes. Those are obviously drying off and probably ready to pull out. And those have still got a little bit more in them. I've got some fun things happening over here in my Gatherer heirloom planter boxes too. So you might have seen these before. They're just filled with water and nutrient solution. I've got capsicums here, which are doing really nicely. I've put some lettuce in there as a test to see how it'll go so far. Very happy. And beans growing there. I couldn't remember if that was a bush bean or a climbing bean, but I may need to come up with a better structure system for that. At the back here you can see another tomato plant. This one is filled with leaves, unlike the previous one I just showed you. Can I remember what variety that was? No, can't remember. But there's some flowers on there, so they will turn into lovely tomatoes. And all... That was a good burp. I'm also excited about what's happening down here. So I did have parsley in here. I pulled the whole lot out and I put in coriander. It's a little bit more shaded over here, so that the coriander might do better here in a spot where it doesn't get such harsh sun. And some new tarragon here. These seedlings are all from the Quality Plants and Seedlings in Werribee. Up here, where do I start? Here are some new things I've grown from seed for the school fundraiser next week. So these are all little tomato seedlings, coriander. There's some more bits I'll show you in a minute, but oh my God, I'm loving my dahlia plant at the moment. I'm just excited by flowers at the moment because they just look so beautiful, and it's sort of what I'm trying to learn as much as I can about. You guys might remember I told you one of the viewers who watches my channel, Kay, gifted me a dahlia bulb, and I put it in there and that is now sprouted. So I'm also ultra excited about that. I did have some nasturtiums growing here. I pulled them out because they were getting too big and I didn't want to take sun away from basil, parsley there, and this beautiful dahlia. So this should get really, really tall. I've put a support thingy there for now, but I'm probably going to have to come up with a better support option later. I have a tiny little tomato plant there, which I've only just put in. So I am keen to have different tomatoes at different stages so that they'll last longer. Here I've got dill, which has actually just started to go to seed. So go figure, that was dill that I grew from seed, which some of you guys will have seen before. do not drink plant food. My anyone can corner is still a bit all over the shop, so it's not yet a corner and it's currently scattered around the yard. But these are what will eventually go into my anyone can corner that I've talked to you about before. Basically things that anyone could grow even if you only had a balcony or a table, something that gets enough sun. Spring onions in a tiny little pot there. You just need to make sure you give them lots of water. Spinach over here. Obviously the heirloom planters would be perfect for a tiny little space as well. Corn down here. Now don't take my word for it because I haven't grown corn before, but if this grows well, that will be proof that you can even grow corn in tiny spaces. More anyone can pots over here. I'm pretty excited about this guy. These are supposed to be mini cucumbers, so I think that's nearly fully formed. I reckon I could almost harvest it and eat it. I probably should actually be pulling off all the fruit just to let that plant get bigger, but early on in the season, it's really nice to have something to eat and enjoy before everything is well developed. So I've told you about this plant before. We're calling these tomatoes Tony's. Thanks, mate. That's a bit noisy. I have told you about this plant before in previous videos. This is what we're calling Tony's Whoppers because they came from seeds saved from Nonna and Pa's neighbour Tony. His tomatoes are apparently gigantic. So I reckon based on the size of those flowers, I'm confident they're going to be pretty big on here too. Chilli plant, which you've seen for 1,000 years, but looking really healthy and lovely with lots of flower buds. And beside it, a zucchini. Again, you wouldn't think you could grow zucchini in small spaces because the plants become so big, but that pot is ample, and as long as you're not trying to grow lots of other things with it in a small space, there's no reason why you couldn't. We've got what's in there, male flower that's open up, so probably take a paintbrush and hand pollinate that with one of the other zucchinis up the back shortly. This plant's not doing quite as well. This is another capsicum plant saved from last year. The leaves look a little bit unhealthy, but there are plenty of new flowers developing. I've got my Amazon greenhouse under here, which I'm using to keep a few things artificially warmer just to promote growth. So strawberries in there. I'm going to be giving those to my nephew because he loves strawberries. So I'm just trying to get them a bit bigger and stronger for him until I see him next. More strawberries there that I'll be keeping for myself. I saw what I think might be a little runner there, which is why I planted that in the corner. So hopefully that can produce some more plants within that space and bulk it out a bit. And blueberries. Last video I told you that I had no plan for these, still don't, but thankfully I've got them into a much bigger pot there. Now I didn't have soil that was specifically designed for blueberries because they do need acidic soil, so I have mixed a whole lot of coffee grounds in here and I am hoping that is enough to acidify the soil. I've also buried a drink bottle with holes in the bottom so that if I need to artificially add acidity, I can get right down into those roots really easily. Plenty of berries developing on there. Really pleased with these beds too, up the back. Look, just so much going on. Let's start here. Zucchinis. So there's some gill zucchini flowers that if they were open I could have pollinated them with that other one I saw down the bottom. Another baby capsicum I've put in there. Nasturtiums at the top. Basil. There's one of those black Russian tomatoes that I grew from seed. This is probably one of my most developed tomato plants. However, definitely got a lot more leaves than flowers and fruits. That being said, there are beautiful tomatoes forming on there, and there are plenty more forming further up, so that should still be fine. Now, my beans and my tomato plant over here are both doing well. So I told you I would choose which one was going to do the best in terms of which was going to own this archway. At the moment, they're both going to own it. And they're going to share it with my passion fruit plant. Again, I know that's a short-term solution because I know those plants get huge, but for now, that's what we're doing. So just to give you a closer look, these climbing beans are out to there, and they're quite happy. And this cherry tomato, I've tried to start angling this way and clipping off some of the lower branches to encourage it to get taller. Okay, let's go over here. I've got some more zucchinis that are open. Is that a girl or a boy? No, another boy that's open down there. I won't bother getting my paintbrush out just yet. And this bed is freshly planted out since we last spoke. I've currently got a net on there, which I bought online, super cheap. It always does worry me when you buy cheap things that someone's got to lose out. So I feel a bit guilty about this one. It's working. So I've got some more of those seedlings in here that I was telling you about last video from QP Seedlings. We've got spring onion here, beetroot here, lettuces here, rocket here, a mini cucumber and long cucumbers that I'm going to vine up here, and another tiny baby sun gold tomato. So that's the same one I told you about before that I grew from seed, but I've marked there 5 to remind me there's only 5 seeds in the packet, so be careful and save them. I'm keeping that on there for now just so there's no birds or anything tempted to pluck that out. Here's the other little archway I told you about last video that I got from Hard Rubbish and fastened it together that I was quite pleased with. This is my raspberry plant, and the reason I've got these bags on here is because I'm starting to get some raspberries colouring up that are very appealing to the birds, and as I've realised also to my Labrador. She is such a cheeky little thing. But how good's that? My first raspberry ever that's actually ripening up. Got more under there that I'm protecting, and plenty of new buds starting to form. And over here, this is my boysenberry plant, same sort of thing. Got some lovely berries starting to form there. And I've got some more under there, which I hope will ripen up soon. I've got 2 yellow zucchini plants here, which are doing okay, and 2 very random corn seedlings here and here. They're the only 2 that survived because the others got plucked out by birds, so I've just stuck them in just because. I've relocated some celery over there. I hope it survives, but I wouldn't be surprised if it goes to seed. Another capsicum down there and some leek down the back, hiding under there. Cover them up so they don't get pulled out. More corn over there. I was chatting to the awesome team at Daisy's Garden Supplies about what to do with all of this space here, because I'd love to, as I think I've mentioned it before, just turn it into a nice little sanctuary. I'd love to put some sort of proper pathways through here so there's an obvious way to kind of move through. And they had so many amazing ideas. One of them is actually going to pop out in the next couple of weeks and teach me about the different ground coverings you can use to create your own pathways and the easiest and sort of most cost-effective ways to do that. So that is on my project list for the next couple of weeks, and I will of course be making a video about that. If you've got any questions specifically about garden paths and the specific materials you can use, how much it costs, whether you can do it by yourself, get someone to help you, any questions about garden paths at all, let me know in the comments and I'll make sure I ask them in that video when I interview one of their experts. They've got some beans in here and a few that didn't germinate. That at the back is rock melon. That was a total just spontaneous. I was serving up rock melon for the kids, chucked some seeds in there. They didn't do anything for a couple of weeks and I thought, oh well. And now I've got rock melon plants. I don't even know if you can grow rock melon in Melbourne. I assume you can, but I'm going to find out. Small basil and tomato at the back there that I haven't worked out what to plant. Small beans and stuff down here. Oh, I've got some other bits inside, I'll show you. So in here, just to make life easy for myself, I've repurposed my eco kitchen from Gatherer and I am just using it as a grow light at the moment for these seedlings that I'm going to be selling, and some of them I'll be keeping. So sweet peas in there are for me. Tomatoes can all go. Here is the moment of truth. Can you legitimately grow potatoes in a pot that size? I've seen someone do it before on Instagram. Has it worked for me? Now these were just potatoes that were in our pantry that had started forming eyes, started growing, and I just stuck them in and did absolutely nothing but watered them, and when they got a bit taller I did add a bit of extra soil in there. So let's see. What's happening in here? Oh. Okay. They're potatoes. They're not huge potatoes. Okay, so here is the potato I planted. This is actually really interesting. You can see it was half a potato, and I'm thinking I needed to leave this a lot longer. That's cool though. Look at this. So that's the original potato. That was obviously the main eye that has grown into the stem. And here's what was happening underneath. I reckon if I'd left this, these would all keep growing. Maybe I should have just kept watering it. Okay. I'm going to stick the rest of it back in and I'm going to keep watering it. If you're new here, I run these garden tours every single month here in Melbourne, Australia. As you can probably see, they often come more than every month. I also am a journo by trade, and so I love asking questions. I'm often interviewing other people who are experts in their field. If you've got things you want to learn about, if you've got specific questions about absolutely anything garden related, let me know, leave it in the comments. There's a good chance I won't know the answer, but I'll be able to find someone who will.